Hello. So one of the things that scares me the most about creating, about making things that other people will have access to, is that I cannot control how people interpret things. I cannot control how people receive what I make. Like there's obviously things that we can do. We can absolutely try to make things as clear as possible. We can be mindful of what language we use, but there's always going to be the possibility that people are going to receive your creations in a totally different way than you anticipated. And that's just like a part of creating. And it's just something that kind of has been on my mind a lot lately. So I'm just going to talk through it, basically share why I've been thinking a lot about it and some of the ways that I've been kind of trying to work through that kind of a block, I would say, in my head. So one of the main reasons I'm making this video is because I had a video that got way more views than it normally does, but it also got way more weird comments, and so many so that I just like turned off the comments because they were getting really weird and things that I just don't want people to have to read. And I know like you can, moderate comments and stuff like that, but it was just like was actually kind of just draining on me mentally. And then I like turned off the comments, but then I got like a comment on another video that was totally unrelated, something that like I don't see how anybody could be angry at. And I assume it was because I had that other video and somebody wanted to make a comment, so sought out another one of my videos to leave a weird comment. And so when stuff like that happens, I'm like, I don't know how to respond. Like it's like I don't want to bring that kind of negative energy to my channel because I talk about a lot of different things that I think are important, and I didn't love that idea that like I was somehow getting a lot of these like really rageful people just all coming to this one video. So this is the first time I had like a video get as many views as it did, but it also was one of the first videos that I've ever had like have that many weird comments. Making that made me very aware of how I can't control how other people receive my things. And I also can't control what things the algorithm wants to send to people who want to be angry about things. You can't control that. Yes, you can absolutely label your video in certain ways, package your video in certain ways, but like I didn't think I was making my video very rage baity. I didn't even try to make a video that was like had a very nice thumbnail. I literally was like, I don't know what to put, so I'm just gonna have my face in the video with just me saying it was an unscripted rant. I had like a very low effort thumbnail and didn't think it would be like any, I just thought, rants that are unscripted are just kind of interesting to see people talk without really filtering themselves too much. So yeah, I didn't think that was like a rage bait kind of thing. Like the concerning thing is like people found my video by searching "I hate women." And that in itself kind of made me like, I ended up privating the video for now because I'm just like, I don't want those kind of people to see my stuff because there's no way that somebody that is searching that is going to see that specific video and change their mind and decide, hey, you know what? I used to think that all women are terrible. I used to think that women suck, or I used to think that feminism is absolutely terrible. But I saw this one video and this one video totally changed my mind. No, they probably watched 30 seconds of it, saw me say that I acknowledge trans people and made an angry comment and left the video. I don't think people who are like just getting angry but also interacting with my stuff is going to be that beneficial for like long-term stuff. I think it was just something that was being pushed because of the engagement, but that's also engagement because people were like not seeming to really get the point and just getting upset with it. You can try to make things with like the best intentions, and you can try to make things where you don't perceive someone taking something negatively, but you can never actually guarantee any of it. And it's kind of terrifying. Like it kind of makes me appreciate anybody who creates anything that is not AI stuff. That is the whole video that I'm working on. But anyone who's creating stuff, as a human that has the ability to be interpreted and kind of changed into something else from other people. It's so brave, and it's just such a gift, honestly, like that people continue to make things without letting that soul thing stop people because it's easier to not do things. It is so much easier not to create things. It is so much easier to just let your voice be silent. As much as you can feel a draw to say things, to express yourself, to try to make things that matter, as much as you can have a draw that pulls you, it is so much easier to not. It is so much easier to just stay in that safe zone or to hide yourself behind something than it is to make things that are things you really care about and are from your imperfect head. Another thing that kind of has me really thinking a lot about this is, it's kind of probably going to sound really random, but I realized that the Alison Bechdel, who is a cartoonist and is most known for her memoir Fun Home, but also has written other awesome comics, she is the same Bechdel that is attributed to the Bechdel test. So in case you are unfamiliar, the Bechdel test is discussed as a method to evaluate gender representation in film or other nonfiction media. And there's 3 criteria for this quote-unquote test. 1, that it has to have at least 2 women in it. 2, those women have to speak to each other. And 3, about something other than a man. And it kind of got me really thinking about how things can be so taken away from their original source and how they can really morph into something where people don't even really care about what the true origins or what the true meaning of something is. And it takes on a whole new life. And like, that can be beautiful, but it can also be so terrifying. Alison Bechdel did not make that test to criticize film. She made it as a joke in a comic strip and got the idea from a friend. She attributes the friend in the comic strip even. For me, I heard of the Bechdel test like in university, taking like a film culture class or something back years ago. And I remember the teacher mentioning the Bechdel test. I thought like this test had a lot more merit to it just because I remembered hearing about it in a university class. So even after I learned about who Alison Bechdel is, some of the stuff that she has done, it wasn't until I read something specifically attributing her to that test that I realized they were one and the same. And it just seems kind of frustrating from her end. Like, she keeps getting asked about this test. And yes, it grew to something that did prompt a lot of important discussion. But it also grew into something that is totally out of her control. Alison Bechdel has said kind of varying things in different interviews in terms of how she feels about the Bechdel test being attributed to her. But she has been pretty consistent in, saying that it's her friend Liz Wallace who really gave her the idea. So it's kind of weird to have your name attached to it. And she also discusses how Virginia Woolf had an essay, A Room of One's Own, that also discusses pretty much the same idea. So in her case, it's not really a negative thing per se. It has led to some positive discussions, but I think it's also led to people just being like, no, the Bechdel test isn't the best way to measure a film. And it's yeah, no crap. Of course it's not. Things exist so much outside of us once we release them into the world. And that's beautiful. It can make some really awesome things, but it can also make some things that are beyond what we could ever anticipate. And that part is the scary part for me. So let's talk about pushing past some of those fears and some of the things that I've been telling myself to try to get out of my head in regards to this stuff. For one thing, some of the artists that I really admire, if they ever stopped making stuff because they didn't like how something was interpreted by people, if that freaked them out too much, There's so much great art that wouldn't exist. There are so many great things that would not be in this world if people allowed that to hold them back. And I'm sure there's art that we are missing from the world because of that. But yeah, we can either choose to accept that people are going to interpret things differently and that is okay, or we're going to just say nothing. And if you stop making things just because of some people disliking your things, then you're kind of just letting those people win. There's very few things on this earth that I think every single person truly agrees with. And that's kind of scary, but that is reality, I guess. There's always going to be people who just want to get angry, and algorithms are sometimes really driven based on that, right? They're pushing things that get an emotional response. And that's not really a me problem as much as it is a kind of systemic problem. That we are just such angry people. We are looking for things to we are looking for things that we can control. We are looking for things that help us feel a little bit better in this world that feels super fucked and hopeless at times, or at least that's how I feel. And like, yeah, I try not to be an angry and malicious person, but I'm sure there's people who that is just, that's their control mechanism, and that's kind of beyond what I can control. So another thing is, I kind of love that art has this way of living through us in different ways. I kind of love that we can like read the same book and have different experiences with it. I kind of love that we can watch a movie and have totally different opinions, and that's kind of beautiful to me. So I kind of have to be able to take it if I'm going to dish it, right? Like, I like to talk about my opinions. I like to talk about how I feel about movies, TV shows, whatever. But I also have to be willing to accept that the same way that I am talking about things, other people might talk about my things. And well, it's not, I don't know, when you're thinking about it as like your own stuff, it's kind of weird, but it's also like, that's just art. That's just things that people create. And it does add like a humanity side to things, because when I think about like art and AI, a lot of the like things that are being created with AI now, I feel like there's so much less voice. There's so much less that can be interpreted by the receiver in such vast ways. And then there's also so much less that this AI junk is even saying. And so I kind of love the humanity of it. I kind of love that that is one of the things that kind of, I guess, has people interacting and thinking about things and has things living on through other people. Something that feels insignificant maybe to the person who made it can actually have a huge impact to someone who sees this stuff. So you don't get to choose as a creator what things resonate with people. You don't get to choose what things will have value for somebody else. You can just try to make things that do have value. You can just try to make things that you think people may resonate with, but ultimately, like, that's out of your court. And you also can't choose the timing. Sometimes things get released into the world and they just don't get appreciated until later. So things that you make can have influence beyond what you would anticipate, and you also don't know when things will hit. Like, things can get popular later on, things can be recognized later on. So there's so many things in that creative side of things in terms of how people receive them that is totally out of your control. There's also the way that any one person's taste and preferences can change over time. I love revisiting something that maybe at one time I didn't like or I didn't appreciate as much, and then like watching it at a later point in your life, there's different things that call out to you. There's different things that you notice. There's so many factors, right? There's like who we are when we receive something. If we are just having a bad day and we are just not in the state to receive certain information, versus if we are maybe ready to hear something, that's totally out of the creator's control. There's lots of reasons to still create. And yes, it feels safer to just be silent or to say things that you think absolutely no one will disagree with. It's safer to do things like that, but you don't know who you could be benefiting by creating the stuff that you create. And you cut yourself off from that opportunity of connection. You cut yourself off from that opportunity of providing real value to people if you just allow yourself to be silenced. So if you are someone who is still making things, still pushing past all of this fear, all of this discomfort, I just want to acknowledge you. And if you are anyone who is just supporting people who are creating, if you are someone who comments, if you are someone who likes videos, those things are so, so valuable just to understand that what you're making actually does impact people, that people actually do get value out of your stuff. So thank you so much. If you do create things, if you do share them, what helps you get over this stuff? What helps you to not be hindered from nasty naysayers stopping whatever you do? Take care. Bye.